So no, it's really cool. Like the needs of the believers in Jerusalem will be met, and they'll joyfully express their thanks to God. So I got a thing from Chris Syme this morning. He's leading our Uganda team, and listen to what he says. Like he says, we burned through the last of our supplies. So this is supplies that basically you have provided. 1,000 HIV test kits, 1,000 malaria test kits, all the malaria medicine, about 1,000 mosquito nets, which means that people won't get malaria, and then 3 months of vitamins for over 3,500 people were distributed. And that's because of your generosity to people in Uganda. So you can take a look at that, and basically you could say the needs of the believers in Uganda will be met, and they will joyfully express their thanks to God. So that's what generosity does. It allows believers and non-believers and whoever else to to reflect the grace that God gives us. Now, a couple things before we get started. One of the things I want you to do is, like, every week you get your registration card. We have buckets of pens at the bottom, and you sign your name or whatever. And I was just thinking, we're big enough now that I don't get to have conversations with all of you, and I would really just love, though, for you to share your prayer requests on there. If there's something the Lord is leading you to pray for, if there's somebody, if there's something going on in your life, just write that on there, and I would just just love to pray for you during the week. Sometimes I'll give people a call or send you an email or whatever, but just know that I'm always praying, and I would just be honored if from this point on, if you just really got something you want to share, I'd just love to pray for you. Couple more things. There's an insert in your bulletin this morning. We've had this insert in there a couple weeks now. The first is on one side is for the in-home meetings. We had our first of these on Thursday night. It was great attendance, a lot of participation, a lot of excitement. I would just really encourage you, if you haven't registered for one of these yet, there's still 3 more opportunities for you to do that. We're going to share a ministry plan for 2015. It's a chance to interact with members of our building team, just to kind of discover and learn what they're up to, and also kind of share your dreams with them. And then there's also a time of sharing just for the church in general. What is the work going to look like in the next few years? And it was great for me just to listen to people, and I thought it was just a great session on Thursday night. So I want to encourage you to do that. We also have our Vision Sunday, which is 2 weeks from today. We're going to have a potluck. Right after the worship service. So there's instructions on the other side of the handout how to do that. We've never had a potluck before. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really just a great day for us. There's a sign-up genius you can use to tell us what you're bringing, but just bring something, bring yourself. I think it's a great day to bring a friend. I think if God has impressed in your heart to invite someone to worship with us, I think 2 weeks from today would just be a terrific day to do that. Have them worship with us, hear a little bit about our vision, what we're going to be doing moving forward, but then also to share a meal with us, and that'd be great. Then there's one opportunity to serve. As a church, we are serving a Thanksgiving meal to our friends down at the Hope Center. That is going to be on Tuesday, November 18th. There's some information about that in your bulletin, but there's a sign-up genius that you'll just go to. I think it's tinyurl.com/serving Omaha 2014, but it takes you all that information. It should be in your bulletin, but I think it'd be really cool if we just pack that place, and we served a Thanksgiving meal to a bunch of people that just are looking forward to that. So it's our opportunity to partner with the Hope Center this Thanksgiving. I think I looked this morning, it looked like about 1/3 of the slots were taken, and we probably had about 15 to 18 people who were already signed up. I would say if you're in a small group, if you have a family, it'd be a great thing just to do together. It's a great ministry that they do down there at the Hope Center, and one of the things we can do is partner with them. So I was talking to this guy in the church a couple weeks ago, and he was, this is a really cool idea, and we've been looking really at what it means to be rich, and he has a young boy, and he was, the boy's having a birthday party. I think he may have already had it by now. But he's saying, don't bring, and the invitation was, don't bring, presents for the kid. What I want you to do is, bring mittens and hats, for kids in Omaha that don't have mittens and hats and gloves. And I thought that was just like this really cool thing to do. Instead of getting presents for the kid, like get these presents for other kids. And I connected them with Together Omaha, and they're going to get the stuff down there. So then kids throughout our city are going to get mittens and hats and gloves because of, what this family did. And I think it's little things like this, that can help us to realize, yeah, we are rich. It's little things like this that say, because God has been generous to us, what we're going to do is be generous to other people. There is more ways to give than any of us could possibly ever dream up or imagine. This was a fairly simple thing. There's other fairly simple things we can do. There's other big things that we can do. So right now we're in the middle of this sermon series called Be Rich. Now the first week, what we looked at 2 weeks ago, is that we are rich. If your family makes $33,000 a year, that puts you in the top 1% of all households in the world. So think about that. If your family makes $33,000 a year, if you got 100 people randomly throughout the world in a room with you, there's a pretty good chance that you would be the one with the most money. Now that's the good news, is that God has blessed us. Week 1 was all about God has blessed us with more than we actually even need. That makes us rich. Now the bad news is that we're rich. I think living in our culture today, I think it's a challenge sometimes to really depend upon God, depend upon the Holy One, the Sacred One, because we have so many other things that we can actually depend on. I think being rich makes it a challenge to grow deep in our spiritual relationship with God, because we can depend upon stuff. Now, I think that our wealth can distract us from the things, or I would even say the thing that matters the most. So this is good news that we're rich, we are blessed, but there's bad news that goes along with this, that spiritually this is a challenge. Now, let me just, I'll tell you this, today I'm going to be talking about generosity, and I think that this is going to probably make some of us feel uncomfortable. But I want to say this, just have an open mind, and I really think with the right heart that we can exhibit today, I think that God does want to speak to us. Now let me ask you this question. I'll just kind of start this way. Who here in this room wants to be below average? You just seek to be below average in life. Anybody? I can't really see the middle section, but no one on the sides and no one in this little section. So none of us want to be below average. So is there anyone in here that wants to be a below average parent? You just don't want to succeed in this? You want to be a bad parent? Anybody? Is there anyone in here that wants to be below average in the way you love other people? I don't see any hands. What about this one? Is there anyone that wants to be below average in generosity? Now, either you all want to be above average in generosity, or you know that there's a social stigmatism of raising your hand to a question like that and you're not doing it. But I don't think that any of us want to be below average in generosity, do we? I think we want to be above average. I think we want to be known as generous. We don't want to be known as stingy. We don't want to be known as miserly. We want to be known as people who are generous. Now, the good news is that I know most of y'all, and you're exceptional people. There's some of you who are way above average in many things. There's some of you who are great in some of the things. I know some of you. I know that some of you are very good at this thing called shopping. You ever do that? You go out and shop and buy things? Is there anybody who's really above average in that? The right store at the right time. You know how to look at the paper and find where all the sales are. You know that the internet site where you can get the most stuff for the least amount of money. Now, there's some people that are so good at shopping that, if you can actually believe this, that they actually spend more than they earn. They like shopping so much that they spend more than they earn. Our country does this. Our government does this. We spend more than we earn, so we pile up these things called deficits and debt and all that sort of stuff. And as Americans, it's scary how many of us are in debt, and the reason why is because we're good shoppers. We spend more than we earn. We live above our means. We as a nation are people who excel at consuming, so we're above average at that. I know you're above average as a parent. Some of you are just exceptional at it, and I look up to you. Some of you are above average. You're great at what you do professionally. I look out here, I see some of you who are teachers, and I know you do an exceptional job at that. I know you're exceptional in your relationships. And what would it look like for us? What would it look like for us if we were just known as exceptional and way above average in the way that we are generous people? Now, let's look first at why it is that God blesses us and why God makes us rich. Now, I can't answer the theological question, why are people in the United States very affluent? Why aren't people in Uganda or New Guinea or wherever not affluent at all? I don't know that. It probably has something to do with resources and economics. But I do know, let's just make this assumption that we're rich, okay? Let's make this assumption that most of us, if not all of us, have more than what we currently need. Now, one of the reasons why this happens is because God wants us to enjoy this. So I want you to know, like, if you have a car, if you have a pair of shoes that you like, if you have a bag that you like, if you have a computer that you like, a cell phone that you like, God wants you to enjoy that. You don't need to feel guilty. God has given things to people for a long time to enjoy them. God gives us his creation for enjoyment. It's kind of like this. Like, I have 2 sons. One of them likes to read, so I give him books. And the reason I give him books is because I know he's going to enjoy these things. He loves to read. As his dad, it brings me joy to see him enjoying something that he loves to do. The other little guy, he likes Legos. Not a big fan of Legos, but he likes the Legos. And he'll put these little things together and like Star Wars stuff, and they'll put them on the floor, and I'll step on them, and he gets a kick out of that too. But the reason why I give him the Legos is because he enjoys them, and he loves them, and he loves doing the stuff with them. He loves playing with them. He loves looking at them, so he does this to enjoy it. Now, just think about this, like a pure Heavenly Father who loves you more than I can ever love any of my 2 boys. So God gives us his creation for enjoyment. There's nothing wrong with enjoying what God has blessed us with. Number 2, why does God make people rich? God makes us rich for us to be generous. Okay, so we're created in God's image. Our life makes the most sense. We've fallen from that image, but our life makes the most sense when we're restored to that image. God is generous. Therefore, we look most like God when we're generous. Now listen to what 2 Corinthians, Paul writes here in 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 11. You will be made rich. Okay, so you will be made rich in every way, so that you can be generous on every occasion. And through us, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. Okay, so there's this step that we can take, and it's this huge step. When we can realize that when we're rich, like we've been blessed with more than what we need. When we can enjoy this stuff, these things, this creation that God gives to us, that's a simultaneous moment. Then we can understand that we have this responsibility, we have this stewardship then to share what has already been shared to us, to give to what has already been given to us. Now, we've looked at this verse the last 2 weeks. We're going to look at it again next week. Here's what I'm going to share from it today. So listen to what he says here. Command those who are rich to do good. This is what we're going to talk about next week, to be rich in good deeds. And listen to what he says at the end there, and to be generous and willing to share. Now, can y'all help me read that first word there? What's it say? It says command. So Paul here is talking to Timothy. He's coaching Timothy on how to deal with wealthy people. And what Paul doesn't say to Timothy, he doesn't say encourage. He doesn't say suggest. What Paul says is command. Command those who are rich to be good and to be generous and willing to share. Now, we've got this little saying we've looked at for the last 2 weeks. We're going to look at it today, and we're going to look at it next week as well. Let's go to the next slide here. So the first week, what we looked at is God has blessed me with more than I need. I am rich. Now, are you guys starting to believe this? Do you believe this, that you are rich, that you are blessed, that even though we don't have as much as our older brother, as our boss, or the guy who lives down the street, that we are rich, that God has given us more than we need? I think we're getting there. The next week we looked at it, says, I will not trust in the riches, I will not trust in riches, but in him who richly provides. So think about this. Like last week, I talked about just years of ministry experience and, just all the stuff that I've seen. Money is only going to get us so far in life. It only gets us so far. Money at the end, it just can't buy our health. Money cannot buy a solid relationship. Money can't give us purpose. There's certain things that money can't do. Money will make promises that only God can keep. And someone actually came up to me at the end of church last week, and he had a really good point. He says, even on a dollar bill, there's this phrase, and it says what? It says, in God we trust. Not in George Washington, not in Benjamin Franklin, but in God we trust. So God has blessed me with more than I need. I am rich. I will not trust in riches, but in him who richly provides. Now today we're going to add to this, because I have more, I will give more. Now, you know how to enjoy. Like, I don't know how to, I can't teach you about that one. You already know how to do that. Probably the one thing I would say is maybe we could be a little bit more moderate in how we enjoy. But what we can look at from the Bible today is we're going to look at how to give, okay? We're going to look at how to give. We're going to look at how to give in a way that leads to grace. Now, I got the opportunity to do this the other night. It's really cool. And I just want to share this to you because I don't want to come off as a good guy. I just want to come off to you as someone who is blessed, all right? So a lot of times on Friday nights, we'll like go out as a family or something, and we went out to eat on Friday night. Sometimes I have weddings or soccer games or whatever, but Friday night we just went out to eat as a family. And at the restaurant there was 3 nuns. So the nuns were there. They were eating the Chinese food just like we were, and I got this idea that I would pay for them. I would just pay for their meal. We actually have a nun in our family. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. Let's show you all this one here. Yeah. That was Benjamin 9 days ago on Halloween. He was a nun for like 3 hours, and like he was walking around, and they would say, well, trick or treat, and thank you, sister, and he says, bless you, my child. How long has it been since your last confession? So like, I just thought like, okay, like I know a lot about the Catholic Church. I'm not a Catholic, but I know a lot about it, and I know that the nuns have this, pledge of, chastity and poverty. And I thought I would just like bless them, and told the server, hey, I'm gonna pay for the nuns. I want to pay for their meal. And she's like, you Catholic? I said, no, I'm just rich. It's like, you're rich? Oh yeah, I'm rich. I got more than I need. But it was amazing. It was just so cool to do that. And like, if you ask Benjamin, what the highlight of the night was, it wasn't the lo mein, it wasn't the moose shoe pork, it wasn't the conversation. The highlight of the night was just surprising somebody else with this little gift of grace. And when we can be generous, what we do is we reflect God's image to the world. So how do we go about doing this? The first is going to be strategically. You are not going to become a generous person on accident. It just isn't going to happen. There's got to be some type of strategy. There's got to be some prayers. There's got to be some planning. There's got to be some conversations. There's got to be some listening. There's got to be some studies of the Scripture. There's got to be like some learning that goes on. But we're not going to become generous on accident. It's got to happen because of strategy. So let's look at 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 7. So listen to what he says here. This is really cool. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give. Okay, so like this isn't like necessarily an emotional or a spontaneous decision. Like there's this decision that we're making in our heart. Each of you should give what you have decided to give in your heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Now you can tell that Paul says, like, put some thought into this. Develop a strategy, develop a worldview, develop a plan. You're not going to get this way on accident. Like, there's got to be some strategy that exists. And I would say that, like, when we give, like, reluctantly or, when we give and we're not, like, we're under compulsion or something, generally what that would mean is that we're either selfish, which I don't think that most of us are, or we just haven't really thought about it. So let me ask you this. Like, here's the deal. Just think about this. Like, if you really love somebody, you love to give to that person, don't you? Like, you really love that. Like, you'd love to give to people that you love. Like, I got this, I already got this little Christmas present for David. I know that I cannot wait to give it to him. I can't wait to see his big blue eyes light up. I can't wait to, see that big smile come across his face because I love him. I've planned about this. I've strategized, and I can't wait until December 25th when he can get this thing because I love him, and we give to people we love, and we love doing that. Like, you'd love to give to people that you love. Now, the reason that I'm excited is because I decided in my heart that I am going to give there's like this strategy that exists. Now, there's nothing wrong with being spontaneous. There's nothing wrong with finding yourself at a Chinese restaurant and paying for some Christian sisters. That's a good thing. Today, if you weren't here last week, you're going to get a turkey bag, or you're going to be offered at least to take a Thanksgiving bag with you and go fill it up this week and bring it back next week. And you can get some canned food and put a $15 check in there so they can get a turkey. And you're going to provide a Thanksgiving meal for somebody in Omaha this year, and that's really cool. That's spontaneous. If you didn't know about that, you didn't plan on doing that, but you can do it. So spontaneous giving can be really cool, but I would say that if we only give spontaneously, we're going to be incredibly limited to developing like this worldview and developing this lifestyle of generosity that is strategic and prayerful and well planned out. Now, think about this, like, truly rich people will strategize on how they're going to share with others what God has given to them. Think about in the Bible, like there's the three magi, or the three wise men that were going to give some gifts to the baby Jesus. Now, I'll tell you what the Bible doesn't say. The Bible doesn't say, okay, they were on this road to Bethlehem. Then all of a sudden they realized that they had to get the kid a gift, so they stopped at the Walmart and they looked for some frankincense and gold and myrrh. Like, that's not the way that it worked out. Like, before the trip even started, they strategically planned that we're going to give Jesus our best. We're going to give him this gold, and we're going to give him this frankincense, and we're going to give him this myrrh. And we just can't wait to do this because we love him. Now, here's, I think, what it's going to look like for some of us to give strategically. So I think where it has to start is with the local church. Jesus told Peter, he says, Peter, you're the rock. And on this rock, I'm going to build my church. There was never any implication that Jesus saw anything besides the local church being the hope of the world. The church started right after the resurrection of Jesus in Acts chapter 1, and it's continued ever since. Now, just think about what the local church can do that nobody else can do. There's dozens. There's over 100 kids right now. In the little classrooms back there, learning about the God who can change lives. There's people in our small groups that are connected to one another, and have developed close friendships. There's people who have gotten hope through like the small group ministry of the local church. There's people that have come into these doors and they were just looking for a little glimmer of hope, and we gave them the only hope that we know of, and his name is Jesus. We believe that redemption in the world is through Jesus Christ, and the local church is the primary way that happens. Now, the word that I'm going to use for a little bit now is called tithe. Now, I want you to know, like, if you're new, if this is like your first time with us, if you're fairly new, if you haven't been with us for very long, I would say if you just still have a bunch of questions about your faith, then you just start where you are. I just want you to listen for a little bit and consider. I don't want anyone to leave today feeling really guilty that you failed. I don't want anyone to think because we haven't been generous that we're just going to go straight to hell or something like that. That's not the way I want you to feel. I would hope that people just feel a little bit challenged, not to freak out or feel guilty. Just listen and consider. Okay. Now, in Malachi chapter 3. Verse 10. This is the original teaching on the tithe. Here, think about an agriculture society. They didn't have debit cards. They didn't have cash. They bartered stuff, and food was the primary way that they bartered. What it says is, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. So tithe, the Hebrew would have known that was 10%. So of all the grains, of all the crop that you have produced, I want you to not just skim off a little bit, but bring in that first fruit, that first 10%. Bring that into the storehouse so that there's hungry people that can come to the storehouse, they can come to the temple, and they can be fed because of your generosity. Now, the farmer here would have been keenly aware that their success was based upon God. They don't provide the rain. They're not the one that provide the soil. They're not even the ones that provide the seed. This was something that God had provided. When we can realize that God provides us everything, this becomes a lot more agreeable. So I know that, like, some of you are thinking, okay, Craig, I don't know about you, but like I got this thing called taxes. And like after I do the taxes and after I do this 10%, there's not a whole lot left for me. Some of us are thinking like, why in the world would I do that? Why would I be that generous, to a local church? Now, I just got two reasons. Number one is that tithing teaches us to put God first. Given that first fruit, given that first 10%, it teaches us, like nothing else will teach us, to put God first. Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 23 says, and here's the purpose of tithing. It's not to make sure that the church is a well-oiled machine. The purpose of tithing is to teach you always to put God first in your life. That's the purpose. This isn't so the church is like this functional, well-oiled machine. It is so that we will always put God first in our life as a constant reminder. Now, think about this. What would your life look like? Just think about this for a second. What would your life look like? If you could say, I'm going to give God my first, and I'm going to give God my best, and then I'm going to trust God to bless the rest. Okay, so what would your life look like if you would give God the first and the best, and then trust God to bless the rest? Now, I can see some of you are thinking, because I know y'all, you're thinking, man, I would really wish I would have just skipped church this morning. It's like the last day of fall, and like winter is supposed to come tomorrow. It's supposed to be like 17 degrees tomorrow night, and it's like 60 out right now, and I'm investing an hour of my life listening to this guy talk about this stuff. And I would just say, like, you're thinking, like, Craig, for me to even pull this off, I'm going to have to reorder my life. I'm going to have to reprioritize. I'm going to have to stop doing things that I do right now. I'm going to have to start doing things I've never done before. Yeah, you think? Yeah, of course you're going to have to do this because all of a sudden now we're putting God first in this area in our life. This is exactly what I'm saying. What tithing is going to do is it's going to force us, like nothing else, to reorganize our lives so that we are putting God's passions and God's purposes in the spiritual development first and foremost in our life. Now, I want you to know, like, this is not some obscure passage that I picked out of the Old Testament, and like am applying. I mean, this is real life. It's real people. I mean, we actually have people in our church that do this. In fact, we have quite a few people in our church that do this. Now, if I were to parade them up on the stage and do like a little question and answer session with them, I guarantee you they'd all give me the same answers, the exact same answers. I would ask the question, was this an easy step for you to do? And do you know what the answer is going to be? No. It wasn't easy at all. It was a huge step of faith. Like we had to change the way that we did things, and it was a huge step of faith for us. I would say, is this easy for you to do? No, it's not easy. We have to make some sacrifices to make this happen. I would say something like, is this a blessing to you? Oh, you're darn right it's a blessing to me. It's one of the best, if not the best, decision that I've ever made. Yeah, we actually are sending out a letter in the next couple days, and it's got one of these stories, and you just read that story. We had 2 stories last year in the yearly letter that I sent out. There's a great story in the bulletin this morning. I would say, would you ever regret making this decision? Every single one of them would say, no, I don't regret making this decision because it's caused us to put God first in our life. So one of the things that tithing is going to do is it's going to teach us to put God first. And the second thing it's going to do is it is going to increase our faith in God. Now, I talk about this a lot, like with Sabbath, like increasing our faith in God. Now, we are not wired, like you are not wired to like work 7 days a week. That's just not the way that you're created. So like to just constantly be busy, to constantly be tired, to constantly be overextended, to constantly be worn out, that is not God's plan for your life. So God gives us this idea of Sabbath. And I truly believe that if we just take some time apart each week, If we can just rest for a day and recover and restore and rejuvenate and recenter and refocus, I believe that we can do more in 6 days as people who are focused and centered and rested than we can do in 7 days on our own. I believe that we can do more in 6 days under God's grace than we can do under our own power in 7 days. I really believe that, and I think you probably believe that as well. Now, the same is going to be true with money. I really believe that we can do more with God's blessing on 90% than we can do on our own with 100%. I believe that when His focuses, when His passions, when His purposes enter into our lives, that 90% is going to be a whole lot more than 100% without those things. Now here's the deal. This takes faith. This is not a financial issue. This is a faith issue. Like, to give God what's left over, that doesn't take faith. We can see that. Faith is going where we can't see. Now, this is how God gave. Like, this is how God gave. Now, remember, we're created in God's image. Like, we can give like God gives, and when we can give like God gives, then our life is going to be at its absolute best. So what did God do? God gave His best. In this case, His name was Jesus. Now, He gave His Son, even though we are still sinners. He did this with absolutely no strings attached. God didn't know if we'd ever step foot in the church. God didn't know if we ever would make a commitment to Him. God just gave. He gave everything that He had. Jesus Himself says that there's no greater love than the one who gives his life for his friends. That is generosity. Before we ever worshiped Him, before we ever committed to Him, God gave us His Son. Now, there's a verse from Malachi I'm going to read to you, and this is the only place that you're going to find this in the entire Scriptures. You won't find it in anywhere else, Genesis through Revelation. You're only going to find it in Malachi chapter 3, verse 10, and God says, just put me to the test. Try it. On this one, just put me to the test. Try it. See how it goes. So here's how it works. Test me on this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing there will not be enough room to store it. It's a matter of faith. So, like, when we can strategize, when we can plan, when we can pray, when we can develop this type of worldview, we just trust that God is going to start to open up. God is going to start to open up the floodgates of blessings in our life. Now, it doesn't mean that we have this prosperity gospel thing going on where if we give, God's going to give more and we're all going to be rich. I don't think you can make a biblical case for that. But it's like this. Like I have 2 kids, Benjamin and David. Well, there's actually a third kid that I'm partially financially responsible for, and his name is Wilson. Wilson lives in Honduras. Wilson was introduced to us through this company called World Vision. So what we do regularly is we write out a check to World Vision. World Vision makes sure that this money goes to Wilson, and we've paid for some of his education. We've paid for some of his food. We've paid for some of his clothing. Now, every once in a while, and we were talking about this morning, Amber showed me a picture of Wilson. We don't write out that check to World Vision like in a bad mood. Oh man, I gotta pay for this kid in Honduras. I could have went out and eaten some Chinese food with this. That's not the way that it works. Like, oh hey, it's time to support Wilson. Never met the kid, probably never will meet the kid. But Wilson writes us these letters and says, I got to go to school this year, and I got some new shoes, and I got to go to the doctor or the dentist or something like that. That's where life starts to happen. Like, I always had this dream that I would plant a church in Norway. That was just always my dream. It's not going to come true at this point in my life. But I just wanted to do that, and I have kids now. We can't move, and I love the church, and my primary dream is here now. But it doesn't mean that we can't support a church planting movement in Norway. So there's some people there that are trying to do that. Norway is probably one of the most secular countries in the world. It's also probably one of the most affluent countries in the world, and this is not an easy place to plant a church. But every once in a while, I'll write a little check out to the Norwegian gospel movement, and I don't do so with tight hands. I do this just knowing that maybe one person maybe 2 people may discover the hope and the grace and the peace and the eternal life that comes through a relationship with Jesus Christ. Now, Jesus, he actually has this really cool quote, and you guys know it. It's really cool. He says it's, you can help me out with it. It's more blessed to what? It's more blessed to give than it is to, do you believe that? It's more blessed to give than it is to receive. So listen to this one. This one's for us. Since you excel, and this is for you, since you excel in so many ways in your faith, your gifted speakers, your knowledge, your enthusiasm, and your love for us, I want you to excel also in this gracious act of giving. So we give strategically. The second way we give is sacrificially and extravagantly. So Solomon was building a temple, and he was supposed to bring like 1 bowl for the consecration of this temple. Do you guys remember how many bowls Solomon brought? He brought 1,000 of them. That's extravagance. David was building a temple, and he knew that God deserved the absolute best, and the fundraising campaign came up a little bit short, so David dipped deep into his personal funds because he knew that the best should be reserved for God and for God alone. There was a woman in Mark chapter 14 who had a really questionable occupation. But you know what? She received forgiveness. She turned. She changed. She experienced that God changed lives, and she went and she gave Jesus everything. The one thing that she had, the only thing that she had was this jar of perfume, and it was a jar of expensive perfume, and she gave it all to Jesus. Now, think about this. It doesn't matter how much. Like last week, we looked at that story about the widow that came and gave the 2 cents. And Jesus says, you've given me everything. You've given me more than everybody else. It doesn't matter how much. It's the heart that actually gives. This one happened a couple years ago. It was about this time of year. It was in early December. So there's these couple kids from the neighborhood, and I've seen them around before at the pool and at the park, and walking around the neighborhood or whatever. And they came up and they, asked me if I was the pastor. And being a pastor is like a really weird profession. Like everyone knows where you live. Like you don't know where your teacher lives or your doctor lives, but you know where your pastor lives. And these 2 kids knew that I lived there, and they had told me that they had gotten some part-time jobs, like doing some stuff around the neighborhood, mowing some lawns, doing some errands for people, and they made like almost $1,000. Like late summer, early fall, early winter, and they were going to use that for Christmas stuff and just kind of cool stuff over the winter. And they said, we got this agreement. He gets to keep 1/3, and I get to keep 1/3, and then 1/3 goes to people who needed a whole lot more than us. Like these are like 14 or 15-year-old kids, my front door, and they said, can you get it to people who need a lot more than us? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. So they bought toys for this kid that wouldn't have got toys. They bought some clothes for this girl that wouldn't have got clothes. I think they paid like a partial month's rent for someone that was going to get kicked out. You can do this, can't you? You can do this. And here's where the gospel intersects life. I think that we're rich and some of us aren't grateful. I think that some of us focus way too much on what we don't have and not be thankful for what we do have. I think that some of us are putting our trust in money and not God. I think that some of us are giving out of obligation and not joy. And I'm not talking about the church here. Like, I'm not up here fundraising for the church right now. If you don't want to give, don't give us a dime. If you don't want to do that, give somewhere. Be generous. Be recreated into God's image. Because we're rich people. Because we're rich people, and rich people aren't below average givers. I think it'd be really cool, and I think we're already earning this reputation because you guys are so generous. I mean, everything we've ever asked you to do, you've done it. You guys got this figured out, but I think it'd be really cool if we just kept being known as the generous church. We give because we have been blessed, so let's pray.